Throughout the last century of human evolution, we have started to live many kinds of lifestyles. That one dude likes to go hiking and the other girl likes to date other girls. But with the rise of such diversity, the number of people who are against it have seemed to grow just as quickly. It's strange when you really stop and think about it. You would expect as the world becomes more connected and the people are exposed to different cultures, beliefs and ways of living, we would naturally become more accepting of one another. Instead, it often feels like we've become expert at dividing ourselves into groups, constantly searching for reasons why someone else's way of living is somehow wrong, simply because it doesn't look like our own. The internet was supposed to bring us together. It gave us the ability to communicate with someone on the other side of the world in a matter of seconds, discover perspectives we never would have encountered otherwise, and learn from people whose lives are completely different from our own. Yet at the same time, it has also become one of the easiest places to judge people without ever meeting them, reducing someone's entire personality to a single post, a 30-second clip, or one opinion they happen to share. As a result, an invincible pressure has slowly become part of our everyday life, whether you are aware of it or not. Almost every decision you make is influenced by the possibility that someone else might have an opinion about it. The clothes that you wear, the hobbies that you spend your weekends on, the music you listen to, the career path you're interested in, or even the people you choose to spend your life with can all become something that others feel entitled to criticize. Because of this constant pressure, many people stop asking themselves one incredibly important question: who do I actually want to become? Instead, they replace it with a completely different question that sounds harmless but changes everything. What kind of person will other people accept? Those two questions seem almost identical, but they lead to completely different lives. One encourages to build your identity around your own values, interests and ambitions, while the other slowly teaches you to shape yourself around the expectations of strangers who may not even remember your name in a week from now. If you think back when you were a child, you probably remember a time when none of this mattered. You didn't spend hours wondering whether your interests were popular enough, or whether people would think you're weird for enjoying them. If dinosaurs fascinated you, you learned everything possible about dinosaurs. If you wanted to draw superheroes every afternoon, you pretended your backyard was a pirate ship. You simply did it, because it made you happy. The idea of being judged barely crossed your mind, because your curiosity was stronger than your fear of other people's opinion. Somewhere along the way though, that has changed. It was simply because your personality suddenly disappeared, or because you became less interesting. It happened because you slowly became aware of the other people around you, and with that awareness came the fear of standing out for the wrong reasons. School is usually where that lesson begins. Without anyone directly teaching it to you, you quickly notice which students seem to fit in effortlessly, which clothes earn compliments instead of strange looks, which opinions receive laughter instead of silence, and which hobbies are considered cool enough to talk about. Little by little, you begin adjusting yourself, not necessarily because you genuinely want to, but because fitting in feels easier than risking rejection. The strange thing is, this behavior isn't entirely your fault. Human beings have always depended on belonging to a group. Thousands of years ago, rejected by your own tribe could literally mean the difference between life and death, because surviving alone was almost impossible. Even though modern life is completely different, our brains still react to social rejection as if it's a serious threat. That's why speaking in front of your class can feel terrifying, why posting your first YouTube video feels intimidating, or wearing something slightly different from everyone else can make your heart race, even though none of those situations actually put you in danger. The problem is that if you spend your years avoiding discomfort simply because you're afraid of being judged, you slowly lose sight of who you actually are. You begin making decisions based on what feels safest instead of what feels meaningful, and before you know it, you're living a life that was designed to be accepted, rather than a life that genuinely reflects your own personality. Ironically, when you look at the people who had the biggest impact on the world, almost none of them became successful because they blended into the background. They were often people who were willing to think differently, pursue unusual ideas, or continue following a path that everyone else considered unrealistic. They weren't admired because they copied the crowd better than everyone else. They were remembered because they eventually had the courage to stop copying the crowd altogether. And maybe that's the real challenge of growing up today. It isn't becoming the loudest person in the room, or trying as hard as possible to be unique. It's having confidence to make decisions that genuinely reflect on who you are, even if they don't receive instant approval from everyone around you. Because in a world where millions of people are constantly chasing validation, choosing authenticity is one of the rarest and most valuable things you can do.